YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with some linebacker rankings for the 2023 season, predicting how players will play for the 2023 season. When I do these rankings, there's a playlist full of them. We are quarterback through linebackers now, just have the secondary, the defensive backs to go, and we've been ranking units, and we'll rank coaches, offenses, and defense too. So got to get all that done before the season starts. Then our in-season content, so cannot wait. Rules and criteria for these rankings listed above me. You guys should know the drill by now. That's how I always do them. But yeah, make sure you join us on our channel. All kinds of content, full NFL coverage, and our Twitter. Constant talk with you guys there. Missing out if you're not following it. Links pinned in the comments for any of our social media pages and for our sponsors, Liquid IV, GLD Shop, code GOAT for a percentage off. Top 20 linebackers, Twitter subs always get top 32. Number 20, Jawan Bentley, the Patriots inside linebacker. Not the flashiest linebacker in the world, but solid tackler, solid versus the run. Going to get the job done. I thought he really stepped up last year, so could he even continue to get better? CJ Mosley at 19. Yeah, maybe not the linebacker he once was, but he's still going pretty strong. Really good option in Robert Saleh's defense. Frankie Lavu had a monster season last year. I really enjoyed watching him. Wasn't really a big name at all. Like not even a little bit before last year, it felt like. So he's maybe just getting going. But they did switch defensive coordinators. I thought Steve Wilks, had a perfect plan for Lavu, every week, especially once he took over, but did a bit of everything. I mean, even in the blitz game, he was just a playmaker in general. Devin White at 17. Devin White, maybe been a little underwhelming because that Super Bowl year, at the end of the year, like the second half of the year, the end of the year of the regular season, and then throughout the playoffs, he was an absolute monster. Like, look, was he the best defensive player in football in general or that year? No, but during that span, to me, he looked like the best defensive player in football, and it showed like hope and upside and potential, and this guy could be a star, and he hasn't quite got back there really at all. I mean, he's a flashy player. He'll fly around and hit you. He'll fly around, blitz, and get quarterback in the pocket, in the backfield. He's got to put it together, in other parts of his game. They were asking him to cover a little bit more, and he hasn't been doing that, super well. Todd Bowles switched up his defense since he took over. I know you want to kind of keep it fresh, but I think the way they ran things, the Super Bowl year was a little different. You saw a little bit more man coverage then, a little more cover 3 now. So maybe that hurt him a little bit, perhaps. We'll see if, he's looking for a big contract. He has it in him. But I got him at 17 for now. I've expected, I've been predicting better things from him since that Super Bowl run year, like what he showed me at the end of that year. And it just, what I've been predicting really hasn't been happening for him. So it's unfortunate. The blitzing game, it sure has. Devondre Campbell at 16. 2 years ago, he looked like one of the better linebackers in football. Still very good. I think there's some young guys maybe passing him up a little bit. And there's some veterans, too, that are kind of in the same boat, the same range here. But yeah, I'm excited for the Packers with Campbell and Walker there at the inside linebacker position. That defense should be pretty solid. Taking a look at 15 up to 11. Jermaine Pratt at 15. Always been a Jermaine Pratt guy. I thought he took a step up last year as well. I was surprised with both Bengals linebackers, the lack of money in their contracts. Only a 1 year for Jermaine Pratt. Logan Wilson was an extension. But yeah, Pratt's pretty flashy. I thought he stepped up his game in terms of coverage. He's a guy who can kind of get in the backfield if you need him to as well, which maybe we saw more of that, but I'm not going to doubt how their defense is run. And then Shaq Thompson, number 14. Weird because we thought Thompson would be coming in, out of college. He would be more of a coverage linebacker, but he's not, maybe he'd have to work on the run support, the run defense, but he's a phenomenal run defender, like phenomenal. And he actually could be a little better in terms of the coverage. But a phenomenal run defender. I think when used as a blitzer, he's very, very solid. I thought we saw more of that 2 years ago and 3 years ago. I think Frankie Lavu kind of took over that this past year, but Thompson was really good as a blitzer. Maybe because he had some injuries pop up. Maybe that you want to do less of that. But a new defensive coordinator in there, so we'll see how that goes. Giro Evero is a very good defensive coordinator, but the linebackers usually aren't highlighted in that defense. So, but they got some good ones here. So that's why they're a little tough to project. Eric Kendricks might be a little tough to project as well because he had a big time down year last year. Like he was easily a top 10 linebacker. He's been a top 5, maybe top 3 at one point. Somewhat recent too, and he has the talent in him. Like has he completely declined? You can't really sit here and say he's completely declined, but last year was pretty rough. A lot of missed tackles, seemed to be out of place, and they did change schemes, and I thought the Vikings defense was coached very poorly. So should play much better. Better Chargers defense. I really wish he went back to a 4-3 defense. Chargers run more of that 3-4. But better players around him, much, much better coach defense. So I think he'll kind of get back on track. Again, because if he gets back on track fully, like he's easily top 10, but he had such a down year, like nowhere near 13 last year. And even though that defense was coached poorly and it made good players make them look worse, he had some mistakes on his own too. We know he's going to be a playmaker in coverage though. So I got him at 13. Foye Oluokun of the Jags, a tackle machine, obviously very, very good stopping the run. Maybe a little better against the pass last year, but that's where he could improve. That's really not where he's flashy, but he's such a consistent, good player that honestly could continue to get better. I know the last few years he was on the Falcons, he was consistent and good, and they were kind of going through trying to switch up schemes. Do we switch up here? And he was good either way. Like a guy like Deion Jones it didn't work well with him back then with changing the defenses a little bit. So it's pretty hard for linebackers. So him like staying consistent, staying very, very solid against the run and being a tackling machine. It's not all about tackles, but the number of tackles, but it is impressive. It means something. But just staying consistent and switching teams and doing the same thing and maybe being a little bit better, I thought, in his first year with Jacksonville. And then given Jacksonville has a lot of young improving defenders, like everybody should get better together. So I like him in the top 12. He could sneak in the top 10. I got Logan Wilson at 11. I did think he was better 2 years ago than last year, but you see he's got the talent in him. I think he's like pretty balanced where you see some good moments in the passing game and the running game. That contract extension they recently gave him, I thought that was a really team-friendly deal. I thought it was really good for the Bengals, so I was a little surprised with the value of that. So, maybe I guess he didn't get the chance to test the rest of the league, so I just wonder what the league thinks of him. But I got him at number 11. Overall, he's been an impressive young linebacker. On to the top 10, a lot of guys really close in rank here. Levante David at 10, who's probably been recently and throughout his career better than 10. Some of these older guys I kind of got, maybe some of the younger guys passing him up a little bit for this year. But Levante David's been super consistent. He had a really good year last year, used in multiple different ways. They can blitz him as well. So I have him at 10 for this year, even though I did think based off last year he was better. Bobby Wagner, too, back to the Seahawks. Pretty similar to Levante David. You can use him in the blitz. He's all-around good tackler, all-around good linebacker. Could be a playmaker. Do we start to see a little bit of a decline, since they're a little up there in age? Tremaine Edmonds I have at 8, the Bears' new linebacker. I'm excited about Edmonds' future. I'm excited about the Bears' future as well. I think it's a good fit, because they're both like, that's an big-time upside player with a big-time upside team. So I like that a lot. Maybe his job could be a little harder this year compared to the Bills, and a little bit easier playing the Bills defense last year, even though it's a fit. It's a scheme fit for sure. Just the Bills, the talent they had on defense. So I would not be alarmed. I don't want anybody to panic if, Edmonds maybe didn't play, because he's an upside guy. You expect him to kind of take the next step. But maybe if he didn't play up to last year, not really worried about it. He was a prospect I liked a lot out of Virginia Tech. Raw prospect at the time. Like his best play was way in the future, and then we're kind of getting there too. So I think he's a guy that has a chance to be like at the very, very top in a few years, in a couple years maybe. So to me, that's still one for the future, but it's still a top 10 linebacker now. Demario Davis, another one that maybe he didn't play quite as good last year. Maybe he's declining a tiny, tiny bit. It's kind of in the same boat as Bobby Wagner, Levante David, or maybe they don't. Maybe they play the same. I mean, I guess they haven't really shown big signs of that at all. It's just, some young guys passing them up. They're up there in age. But Davis, very solid leader on that Saints defense. Another guy that can blitz as well. I have a feeling, maybe he could play a little bit better this year than last year, actually, even though these guys are up there in age. Again, Davis, Wagner, David. You wonder, do they start to decline? Maybe Davis. I thought those two actually were better than Davis based off last year. I think Davis would be the better. It'd be damn close. But of the three long-time great veteran linebackers, And then Matt Milano at 6. The first half of last year, I thought Milano was the best linebacker in football. If you look at halfway through the season last year, Milano to me was playing like clearly the best linebacker in football. And he was still up there based on last year alone. After we went through the whole season, he was still up there. He did miss some tackles. He's got to clean that up a little bit. I thought in the second half of the year, they were kind of coming up at bad times too, but he's very, very good. You see the Bills want to hang on to him and let Edmonds go. I know the price was different, but they really like Matt Milano for a reason. So I got him at 6. Could even take another step up this year. On to the top 5. Dre Greenlaw I have at 5. I actually thought Greenlaw, I know people will say Fred Warner is the best linebacker in football. And I think that's more in general. Yes, I thought Greenlaw actually played like the best linebacker in football last year, just based on what I watched. But I do think in general Fred Warner is better, and there's some other guys that could be better as well. But Dre Greenlaw has been, when he's been healthy, he's been very good, very fun to watch. I thought he's improved every single year as well. I know they don't have D'Amico Ryans anymore, but I don't really see any reason for him to not play good football. So I got him in the top 5. Shaquille Leonard is an extremely tough one to rank because he's a guy I want to put at number 2. I want to put him at number 2 behind Fred Warner because the talent, the skill level is ridiculous. Like, it's elite. It's just not hearing the best of things, coming off that injury and a little bit of fear in his head. We hear about that and, how well is he doing post-injury? Tried to come back last year. It's one more week. It didn't end up being one more week. And tried to come back. It didn't work out, so those are a little scary. It'd be a big-time shame if, things weren't right, with him because he's an elite talent, elite skill level. So hard to rank because I want to, just straight skill, I want to put him at 2. But I knocked him a little bit because you do worry about that. You do worry about some of this stuff. I have Nick Bolton at 3, and that's maybe a little bold, maybe a little bit of a surprise. Maybe not, because Nick Bolton's been playing very, very good football at his very young age. He's only going to get better. We all know that. But I loved what I saw from him last year and throughout last year. Every step of the way, like, all right, this guy's good. He's good. He's getting great. He's getting great. And then he big-time playmaker when you need him most down the stretch of the season in the playoffs and the Super Bowl. So I think this guy's on his way to being one of the very best. This is kind of the time for the linebackers where they start going. The time where they kind of get to be, we call them elite and number 1. It's right around where Fred Warner and Roquan Smith are, because then you got Roquan Smith, who always been a pretty good linebacker. You kind of rank him in the 4, 5, 6, whatever that range. And the Bears switched their scheme up, and we know he didn't fit it as well, and he goes to the Ravens in a trade, and we know he fits that scheme. We know the Ravens they got a good defense, and they get the most out of their linebackers there, and he looks outstanding. So he's kind of hitting that prime age, and he's been playing kind of prime football, and he's with a really good fit again, and we already saw the sample size of that. In a really good defense there, so that kind of puts him at that 2 spot now. Really liked watching him that second half of the year because he kind of started a little slow last year, but then got going for the Bears. But I do think it was the scheme was the issue there. Scheme seems to be a big thing for everybody, but specifically linebackers. And Fred Warner, it's pretty tough not to rank Fred Warner 1. He's been the best linebacker in football. Do it all guy, equally as good as filling gaps, as getting outside in an angle, as in the run game, as covering, as being a playmaker, as showing his athleticism and his power, all across the board, all around like today's style linebacker. Everybody knows that. So I get him at 1. Could Roquan Smith catch him? Like right now, I think everyone would rank Warner 1, but I think Roquan Smith has a chance to catch him, beat him this year, beat him out for that 1 spot. And the next guy I'd put in that conversation who has a chance to be 1 probably be Shaq Leonard, because, he's at 4 because you kind of wonder how many games he'll play and if he's going to be right. I'm going to be optimistic in that, I have him at 4, so I'm not really doubting the guy. But maybe he's got to ease into it a little bit. Maybe he might start a little slow. That was kind of my thinking with knocking him down a couple spots. He's just so damn talented. I hope things work out. But, if he's 100% up here and with his body the whole year, he has a shot to be 1. I think, Nick Bolton's going to take that next leap up into the, I have top 3. Maybe it's a little bold, but I think he could be 1 for the future that can take that 1 spot. And future, I really like Tremaine Edmonds. Even though he's been in the league for a bit, he's just coming off his rookie contract, and the Bears gave him that contract. He's still an upside guy. Like I said that before he got drafted. This is a guy that we're not going to be able to judge him early on. So that's a guy that could be one in the future. It feels like Matt Milano's getting better as well. So maybe some of the longtime veterans kind of getting passed up a little bit, but man, you got to appreciate how good guys like Demario Davis, Bobby Wagner, Levante David, like how good they've been, how consistent they've been for so long. And they could be at the top too. They could definitely be at the top, but those guys are pretty similar. Those are pretty similar veteran linebackers. Like what is to their game, I should say. But those are my linebacker rankings. We did this for every position besides corners and safeties. That is next. And I want to rank offenses, defenses, and I want to get to the coaches if we have time as well. We've been ranking units along the way, some units here and there. So all on the channel, go check it out and drop us a like and make sure to subscribe, turn notifications on while you're at it. You don't want to miss the in-season content, that's for sure. Follow us on Twitter's link pin in the comments section for anything you're looking for. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.